Hello and welcome to another episode of CTRM Radio, an ad hoc podcast from Commodity Technology Advisory, hosted on ctrmcenter.com, your place for everything CTRM. And in this episode of CTRM Radio, we explore the rapidly changing world of data management in energy and commodities. We speak with 4 data management providers, 2 existing providers, and 2 software as a service newcomers in the form of FIS, Ventriks, HAKOM, and OpenDataDSL to find out what is driving interest in data management, where is it heading, and about their particular solutions. Thanks to our guests. We hope that you find this useful. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
And first questions I want to ask you, how you see the market for data management? How does it evolve? Business.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think it has been a very positive and encouraging change in terms of the customer's expectation and the volume of data that they're looking for, the influx of fundamentals that affect the demand and supply of commodity, the expansion strategies of companies to go and increase their coverage in terms of the geographies they trade or have exposure to, and the overall trading activity that has increased as a result. We have seen a massive increase in the demand that is coming from the industry. And FIS was in a very good position to cater to those requests from our customers and prospects by introducing our data as a service model. So we have seen the number of data sets that they're looking at from us or expecting from us grow exponentially, not like 2-fold or 3-fold, but exponentially. The timeliness, the criticality of information, that has always been there, because in the middle office and risk space, timely delivery of market data was always the primary objective that anyone would look at. But with the advent of fundamental data sets, the responsibility has grown massively, and we are there to cater for our customers. So that's the fundamental shift I see, which is driven by the energy transition and the expansion into various.
You see that not only the kind of or type of the data extended, but also amount of the data. So if you look at the market now, what type of the data is really the driver of those changes? Either price data, is other type of data?
Yeah, well, price data will always be important and critical because your mark to markets, your P&L depend on it.
But always like that, yeah.
Exactly. And the fundamental data sets, the demand, the supply, the overall capacity, the transmission network information, is that kind of, and then a lot of unstructured content which has come into the picture, because number of these data sets are not published at a, so in a sophisticated way, because the industry is evolving and rapidly growing. A standardization hasn't yet kicked into a lot of these processes. So the unstructured content has grown. And as a result, the technology that is needed to cater to that demand needed to be ahead of the curve. And this is where we see the major shift is happening. And we are
what do you mean exactly by unstructured data? Could you give an example?
Yes. I think there was a recent customer that we extended a relationship with, where they were looking for sentiment analysis that comes out of the results of their interest rate that our customers are publishing. And that information comes from a variety of sources like, X or Twitter or Facebook or social media, and of course the digital and print media, whereby an assessment of a reporter to predict the behavior of the market or the sentiments. And it's no longer an objective number that you can capture. It's very much depending on how you interpret the information, where in which bucket it. So that's the kind of information that sort of became very important for policy making, important for assessing where the industry is heading, overall price or demand of an underlying commodity, and that became quite interesting. And as a result, with that unstructured information available through a variety of sources, there are biases, there are natural language that you have to process. The traditional technology stack for a data management system wasn't sufficient. So the investment, we started doing that, and we have customers now using our technology in that space. And when we saw, when the industry or markets, power markets and gas market moved to intraday and 5 minutes and 15 minutes, the volume of the data grew. So the traditional econometric checks that you would apply on the data were not, practical enough to be performed by a person. So that in the introduction of machine learning was necessary. It wasn't, no longer remained a bandwagon. It actually became the basis on which you can then build your applications on top.
Okay, I see. And of course, the way of deployment of such system changed. So I think that cloud deployment is proliferating and spreading in all areas of businesses of energy companies, and of course in the data management. But would you say that the data management software is a particular type of software nowadays, separated from others, not just a part of ETRM system, say, but just a separate software category which evolves in own growth rates through own drivers and has also different vendors working particularly in that area?
When you look at it from a pure tech perspective, there will be plenty of solutions out there, the cloud native platforms for data management. But in our industry, especially in energy and commodities market, you need the market knowledge and you need the industry expertise. And then technology will only facilitate you to achieve your goals. So I've seen, in my personal opinion, it is more of a hybrid approach where technology is the facilitator. It does not necessarily or should not drive your company strategy. You should align with your company strategy and you choose the right solution. So when we look at our customer base, we have the traditional mid-office risk, back office departments who need specific information, and then the data scientists or the economists or analysts, they would go and look out for newer trends and opportunities. So a platform that can cater to both market data, fundamental data. The market data piece can still be traditional. The fundamental data and data science can be on the cloud. And offering that hybrid solution is probably the right approach in my view. And that's what I'm seeing being requested by a number of our customers and prospects.
And this, what you would say, is the particular unique selling point of your solution? Is it that, or there is something else as well?
No, absolutely. So that definitely is one of the key areas because a lot of your machine learning models and now the Gen AI models, although you have local LLMs working, you still need the cloud capability to actually utilize these machine learning based and Gen AI based algorithms. So that is always going to be in the cloud, right? But it generally caters to public information, right? A lot of the information that you capture is in public domain. So there is not much of a data privacy and data security concern that comes in. But when it comes to your proprietary data models, your curves and your internal data set, you are still governed by the government regulation, your company policies, where you won't look for a traditional approach. So there is a line that you have to draw and see which areas of your solution can be on cloud without any problems, which area can remain on-prem. And that's the hybrid, and that's the value that our solutions can now offer to our customers, where there is no risk of data privacy being overlooked.
Okay, and how do you see competition in that area? I know there are companies developing platforms and saying that any third party can create application like AI, machine learning application sitting on that platform. And there are some data management services which provide the data to the platform. And for me, it seems like FIS is looking to do everything, to be a platform at the same time, to provide all the analytics, to provide the data feeds. Is that the concept? And if yes, are there other companies working in the same area which is comparable to FIS?
I wouldn't say a comparable solution is what I see in the market, but I definitely see opportunities for more partnerships. Right, newer companies that come up, they have a very niche a solution that tends to solve one particular problem, and it's actually a good idea to partner with them so that you get the security and the safety of a large organization, the maturity of the traditional data management or ETRM systems that the traditional companies have built, and get the modern edge by partnering, so that you are fostering the ecosystem, you are putting trust on them, you are supporting them to grow, and giving them a channel through which a wider community of our customers can access the technology without having to risk maybe the viability of that partner. Because now, on on the one hand, you are growing the ecosystem, and on the other hand, you are offering that a peace of mind to your customers, and becoming that, I always say, one throat to choke for all of their data needs.
And but those companies would be seen more as a partner than as a competitor, right?
Absolutely.
And what about competition?
Now, I look at it, the competition in two different ways: competition in the traditional ETRM space and competition in pricing and data management space. Unless you have a combined, consolidated offering, you are not a complete solution, because then you are running behind two different providers. Your market data, your decision-making information is going to come from the external world. ETRMs tend to generally run on their own sort of, little world, depending heavily on the third-party data that comes in. So unless any big ETRM player in the industry has one-stop shop solution, they are not going to be able to address the market requirements. So I think I haven't seen that yet happening with the competitor. It's still driven very much by partnerships or some sort of a loosely, established partnership, as compared to FIS, where everything is offered as one solution owned by FIS.
Richard, thanks for joining us on CTRM Radio. And let's start with the question, how do you see data management, energy and commodity firms evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this game, Gary, for over 25 years, and it's definitely an industry that continues to evolve from way back there, where there really only, relational databases. In my old firm, SunGard had a time series database, which was quite revolutionary at the time, and now there's 11, 12 different types of databases just there alone in that space. So things have evolved quite significantly. I think things have definitely evolved quite a bit within the framework of the industry itself. I mean, we have a number of regulations, a number of, we're into energy transitions, and we're starting to use the power of sort of AI and stuff, which maybe we'll touch on later on, Gary. The market or the technology has advanced, and whether clients and customers of ours have kept up with that, is a moot point. Traditionally, I guess, if we think about it, the back in my day, certainly most business functions and indeed applications had created their own data, and to some degree that's still the case. They had their own data model and their own data repository, and that sort of led to a huge proliferation of data. And we call that in the industry a data sprawl, where you have this kind of disconnect of data between systems and locations and environments, and it makes it incredibly hard for people to access this data. It's quite inefficient, as you can well imagine, and there's like little or no collaboration. And so the industries have to sort of wake up to that, and indeed, as I say, the advent of sort of AI and regulatory and sort of environmental pressures, etc., and to see what can they do. And there's a lot of things that you can do, and I think we might touch on this later on, but definitely, I think people definitely are starting to use what I call fit for purpose databases. So no longer is Oracle king. I mean, Oracle is a relational database management system, and it is fit for certain types of data. But you may want to use, for example, a document database in our own industry called like MongoDB, etc. There's other ones that are out there that are particularly function well for particular types of data, so petabytes of data, etc. And I think clients are starting to understand that, and it's quite easy to connect these databases up. I think one of the biggest things in data management that I've seen is people start to understand data governance now. It was kind of the Wild West back in the day, and there's now a more implemented data governance structure, and you have tools, and we have tools that we use to do those things, and to make sure that you are, within compliance with regulatory compliance, or indeed external compliance from auditors, etc. And indeed, the third one is vendor compliance. So from the PRAs that have sold you data, to make sure you're compliant with that. I think other things like and we do this as well, is using more agile methodologies, and that's really changed from sort of building these full kind of monolithic sort of applications to more sort of bite-size type applications, and using agile methods to do this. So building like a smaller apps in a kind of more modular fashion, and clients are definitely doing that. And it allows you to scale quite quickly and throw away stuff that doesn't really work very well for you. Other things that I've seen, certainly in the last several years, is people start to use data cataloging a lot more. So starting using metadata for what it's used for, what it's meant to be used for, in data discovery. And it was one of these afterthoughts for people to generate metadata. Now it's actually almost a cornerstone sometimes of a data management system. And it certainly is, as far as we're concerned. So that whole sort of data discovery. One of the big changes I've seen, Gary, is moving into more real-time decision-making. And you've probably seen this throughout your cycle as well. And that's something that's come to the fore over the last few years. And you have to put practices in place, use the best technology in place in order to achieve that for real-time decision-making. And that's definitely something that clients are grappling with. I know this from first-hand experience. And then, of course, as I said to you earlier on, we might touch on this, is using sort of, the advent of high compute power, which we have now. And you can start to use AI in true sense. I mean, AI has been around since 1959. Most people don't know that, but it's been around for a while, but we couldn't really leverage it well because we didn't have the compute power. But now we do, and the clients are definitely start to use this to their advantage.
Right. And do you see the software category growing in energy and commodities? And if so, what kind of data do you think is the driver for that growth?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a growth industry, no doubt whatsoever. I mean, terabytes back in my day. Now it's petabytes, and I can't remember the next one above that. Before this, I was just off the phone with a partner of ours called Spire, who are they do sort of space-based data and analytics using nano satellites, etc. And the data that this generates is just unbelievable, and clients have to sort of grapple with this. I guess this is really big data playing into itself. Volume, velocity, variety, and of course the fourth one that most people miss out, veracity. And it really is playing out, and some folk grapple with this, but other folk don't, because there's a number of different technologies that you can use for that. But the growth is, I mean, you can put it down to a number of things. Definitely the energy transition. There's a lot of new things coming to play. So solar farms, wind farms, etc., hydro, etc. There's a lot of data generated from these things, from the hardware itself, whether it's real time streamed or collected at very regular intervals, and you have to be able to analyze that data and make decisions with it. So that whole kind of energy transition, net zero, is definitely pushed data growth to a new level. I mean, obviously the social media has exploded in many forms, and companies are certainly, several years ago, they were grappling with how to deal with this new data explosion. But there's lots of tools and techniques to do this, to try and make sense of that data coming through, whether it's coming through X or Facebook or any other sort of social media post, or whether textual format, video format, audio format. You've got to be able to use that information. So there's definitely an explosion of data coming through from these things, and the one of the things that I think is definitely going to up the data as well is this concept of the flexibility markets. So anyone can become a generator and distributor to the grid, and that is an enormous amount of data that's coming off of these different types of hardware, and you have to bring that into the grid, and the grid itself is it's a massive amount of data coming through the grid. It's a smart infrastructure, and the amount of data explosion, I mean, certainly in the last 5 years is almost immeasurable. So I definitely see a massive growth. Can you measure it, Gary? I wouldn't like to put a percentage on it. I'll leave that to the Gartners of the world. But it has definitely exploded and is on an exponential growth trajectory. Yeah.
What about new technology? I mean, you've mentioned AI. How do you see? I mean, AI is a bit overhyped at the moment, is my sense. It's again like it's a hammer looking for a nail. There are some obvious applications of it, though. So how do you see AI within data management being deployed in the near future?
Yeah, so I mean, I was at the CTW conference a couple of weeks ago, and the thread of the conversation was AI. And in fact, we're all making jokes about how many almost playing AI bingo, how many folk were saying AI in their presentations, and it was definitely the theme of the conference. And people were quite modest about it in the sense that what you just said there, it's got potential to be transformative, but to be honest with you, it's a bit like blockchain. I think we have to take it with a little bit pinch of salt and to see what it really can do. Personally speaking, I think it is transformative. I think it will make its mark across all the different industries as we go through time. But at the moment, there's probably some isolated business cases that people should be looking at. And indeed, in the conference, they were saying that as well. Just take a small business cases, and the application of AI they were talking about just now was large language models, so the chat GPTs of the world, and how do you build that? How do you build that up? And just take small use cases to leverage value out of it, because it can be very powerful if used correct. And actually, some of the PRAs are starting to build up their own LLMs and have their own sort of little chatbots themselves, so clients can ask questions and get the answers to it. AI is such a wide discipline. I mean, machine learning is obviously a small part of that, and sort of neural networks and stuff. And I think people are definitely using it. There's no doubt about it. We've got a partner that's been using neural nets for forecasting for the last 25 years when neural networks weren't really sort of in vogue. So they've been using that for a long time, but people are starting to understand the power of it and what you can do. And there's a lot of stuff being used for ML. I'm sure you've heard most of the stuff. Sort of predictive maintenance is one of the big things across our industry. There's no doubt about that. The smart grids using sort of looking for breakpoints and allocation of resources when things are wrong. Energy forecasting, I mentioned there. That's definitely a huge area that people are starting to use AI. And it's something that people don't speak about, cybersecurity. It seems it's an area that we're definitely talking about now. And indeed sort of classic sort of energy management of all descriptions in there. So it's definitely used. Most of the companies that I'm in touch with are using it to some degree, and they're trying to discover in their own way how they can leverage it for their own particular circumstances. And I think that's the journey that clients go on, Gary. I'll be honest with you.
Where I'd like to see it used more is in exception management. What about your offering then? What does it offer, and how is it differentiated from competitors?
Well, we're a self-service data management and analytics platform. Sorry, I couldn't even get the words out there. And it's kind of part of a wider sort of data and technical ecosystem. I mean, clients come to us looking for ways to help manage external and internal data, as well as as I said, analytics, automation, sort of workflows, data governance, quality, and we help them address those needs. We specialize in energy and commodities. We've been doing this. I've personally been doing this for 25 years. And we have a team that are 15 years plus that have been doing this, Gary, as well. You asked the question of how do we differentiate? I mean, I guess there's a number of different ways that we do things in our space. We definitely have a self-service model, so we're a cloud-native platform, so clients can just come in and go ahead and use the platform. we're very sort of flexible pricing. You can pay as you go, or you can pay monthly or annually. We've got this ecosystem of data and partners, and that's very important to us, Gary. And they're all connected. So if we connect to someone, it means a live connection. So if you've got a Snowflake subscription and you want to have data coming in from Snowflake to Ventriks or Ventriks to Snowflake, you can just do your sort of entitle your configuration to your Snowflake account, and it will automatically do it for you. And indeed, with data, all the data that we get in is ready for use. So we see that as quite a differentiator. That's all normalized and ready for use. We are cloud native, as I said, this for pure scale and flexibility. Most competitors are not cloud native. They're in the cloud. It's an on-premise solution which is in the cloud. It's not a multi-tenanted cloud native solution which gives you all that flexibility and scalability, which clients really love. I guess the other big thing is we are very aware of the data science community, and we are, the data is data science ready, and we have a number of SDKs. So if you want to use R or Python or C#, whatever you want to use, or Rust or whatever in your data, that we have all those SDKs ready for you to use. And indeed, we support over 11 programming languages within our platform in order to build out a rules framework. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, Gary. And I guess last is their no-code, low-code principles. So we tend to do a lot of the heavy lifting for clients so that everything's kind of there. And so a user can just come in and sort of drag, drop, and put together things quite easily. And they don't have to be a techie. They don't have to go back and put a ticket in for support there. So we are quite young in the industry, Gary, and we have quite a product roadmap that we're building just now with the aid of client input, which is very important. And but we have a fantastic system that has been adopted now, and hopefully clients can see the benefit of it. And some of the stuff that I may not have mentioned earlier on was new things that are coming into the market, data fabrics and data mesh and stuff. We have very much architected our system to embrace those new sort of practices, new ways of new architectural ways of thinking in order to get the best out of your data.
So let's discuss a little bit about general development of the data management in energy business. How do you see that, how it's evolving in application to energy and commodity?
Well, I myself can answer this question primarily with regard to companies that work in the energy market. And what we do see is that systems that have been in use for really many years are getting on in years. And due to these mega trends of our time, there's a whole range of requirements that are currently impacting this sector massively. So new centers of excellence are emerging in the companies and their supply chains, obviously, and they have to deal with really very specifically with the topic of data management and new possibilities of AI, and obviously also security requirements. They are helping to make this area a major central and mission critical challenge, I think.
Do you see that particular data types are driving this process? Well, what kind of data is really growing that fast that people start to take care especially about that?
Yes, well, I think that I would say mainly data types or sensor data coming from smart meters drive that. Then obviously meteorological data, which is used for forecasting, also production of renewables is a major challenge, or will be a major challenge also for other purposes, like creating price forward curves and things like this. So sensor data of any type, and in many cases also high increment data is posing a major challenge, I think.
And do you see that the data management as software category becomes important as a separate category, not just a part of ETRM system, say, but really separate type of the software?
Yes, we see this, and this is also part of our value proposition. We think that it's definitely a horizontal issue. It's a base technology, so collecting data from different sources of different types, also be it in the cloud, on-prem, or in hybrid scenarios, is definitely a separate type of software or type of data management that you need, instead of monolithically putting time series data management or data management as itself into, I don't know, a smart meter data system or an ETRM system or any other kind of portfolio management system, for example.
And when you talk about this new data management, is that necessarily a different type of deployment? So it's always cloud solutions, or what are specific features of this type of software?
Well, I think there are some use cases out there that are now being solved on-prem, and some of them have not an expiration date, especially with TSOs. It's about security or any other data protection issues. So they don't have an expiration date. On the other hand, cloud technologies, they offer a lot of new features, like elastically scaling the database or the service itself. And it's not always about upscaling, it can also be about downscaling. So thinking of smart meter data clearing, for example, certain points in time, in the months, in the day, you need a lot of performance. So you would upscale your service and the database. Other days you don't need that. So efficiently scaling down saves a lot of energy and a lot of money, obviously. So this demands for a new deployment in the cloud. And ideally, the technology supports both, also the hybrid solutions.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And what is the role of AI, machine learning, or similar application within data management? Is that a necessarily mandatory feature of the new data management, or it's just spreading? So how quickly growing also?
Well, I think it's growing at a tremendous rate, obviously, especially with the large language models. You see a lot of new applications. I see mainly the kind of traditional applications for AI. You can use it for forecasting, for optimization, for algo trading and things like this. And this is evolving and growing. But this is true for the last years already. And with the large language models and some specific algorithms, synthetic data is also an interesting issue, because many things are doable, but the question is, are you allowed to do it? So, for example, offering data to third parties that you collect. How long may you retain the data? What kind of data are you allowed to offer others, share with others? So services, AI-based services for synthesizing the data are a big issue. I think this will be booming. And this should be available as an add-on, I think, through the whole data life cycle, and through different systems. So add-ons will definitely evolve. And if you think of the tech giants like Microsoft creating co-pilots basically everywhere, I see that also for the energy sector and specific applications that support the energy sector.
Maybe coming more to your software, HAKOM was historically a company dealing with time series management. Now you changed your direction and you're offering a platform with different flexible plugins and connections. What was the reason for that change?
Yeah, the reason I think is mainly that the possibilities are there now. Looking back, we always knew that time series are the elementary particles of the industry. So it's very important to create a technology that can deal with all this legwork that is involved. But now with cloud services and possibilities, it's obvious that a platform can help a lot elastically storing and processing the data, combining it with third-party services. It will then also take away this legwork of different adapters, connectors, different formats. If you look at the city utility, they get data from so many various sources, stock exchange, meteorological data, smart meter data, and so on. And instead of creating endless or numerous point-to-point connections, you can connect your cloud service to these different sources and offer all-in-one in one interface. So therefore, we created a REST API, which is 100% function complete. And using this, you can, by the way, also connect to other data sources and services and don't deal with these interfaces anymore.
And looking at the competitor landscape, as we see the data management becomes a very important category for energy companies, how do you see your competition? Who are your competitors, or how you see the growth of companies offering software in this space?
Well, looking at this niche we're in, we are in time series management for energy. It's hardly to name competitors. We are not competing with time series databases. Time series databases are just another possibility to store time series data efficiently. But instead of creating one silo, which is isolated by using, I don't know, influx or timescale DB or whatever, our philosophy is to create this data valuable by connecting different sources. And the competition, well, we can hardly see a competition that is as category rebuilding as we are for time series for energy. Many of the competitors or companies that offer a similar functionality, they integrated this into their monolith. It's integrated in, I don't know, an ETRM system, or it's integrated in a smart meter system, but you could not use it for accessing data that comes from other sources. And this is our philosophy.
Okay. So you see this as a unique feature of your offering?
Definitely. Being polyglot persistent, so connecting to different data sources. This is definitely a unique proposition, and offering this full set of features you need typically for energy when it's about time series, be it in smart meter, be it in trading, and so on. That's another USP that we definitely have, alongside with some very specific features like a 3-dimensional timescale support for creating an auditable software or for creating versions, and all this fully scalable. That's definitely a USP, yes.
Okay, and maybe the last question: how do you see the role of artificial intelligence in respect to your offering? Are you integrated AI analytics? Are you provide your own analytics? So what is your view on that?
Our positioning is that we see ourselves as a base technology to enable artificial intelligence. So the typical things you would do to make time series data useful for AI can be done with our technology, accessing the data, harmonizing the data, validating it, maybe even authenticating the data so that it's secure and safe to use, could also be an issue. We would see these services maybe to synthesize data as an add-on. So we would offer, in future, we will have a store to do that, these services as an item in a store that you can book and you can subscribe to. So therefore, I think add-on is an interesting thing, but there's also a possibility of creating co-pilots within our technology, so that you say, for example, in a user prompt, give me an aggregate of all the smart meter data that we have in Lower Austria with a certain zip code and aggregate it in 50-minute increment. And there you go. The result is on the screen. That's an idea we have.
Okay.
Colin, thank you very much for joining us on CTRM Radio this morning. And obviously wanted to ask you a few questions about data management as it relates to energy and commodities. And let's start with, how do you see data management at energy and commodity firms evolving?
Yeah, so I've noticed a common theme recently among energy and commodity firms that I've been talking to. So they're now getting serious about moving towards software as a service-based systems rather than installing a data management platform in their local data center. This follows a more general trend of companies moving away from running their own physical infrastructure and running more services in the public cloud, such as Azure or AWS. And generally, I believe that large monolithic data management implementations will become a thing of the past as clients discover the vast benefits of data management as a service.
Good. And is it growing as a software category in energy commodities? And if so, why do you see it growing? And is it growing fast or slow?
Well, the need for data has been growing year on year for a long time now. Data management, therefore, must grow with that demand for data. And it's not just in terms of quantity or velocity of data. With ever-expanding data types and usage, the functionality within the data management platform must be more flexible and open. And clients want to effectively self-serve and take more ownership of their data management system.
And how is new technology actually being deployed in data management, and why?
Yeah, so I mean, we're primarily managing relatively easy data in terms of capturing and storage. But technology in the form of artificial intelligence and machine learning that can be used to automatically categorize data and create insights and trends, etc. Although there's interest in AI and ML, clients we're talking to are still not making it a core requirement for their data management platform.
Right. Interesting. Any idea why?
It just seems that it's still at its infancy stage. I think a lot of clients want to see the benefits of it, but ultimately it's not a core requirement yet. There's a lot of R&D that's been taking place within machine learning, but yeah, it's still on the fringe, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. And what about your offering, which is new to the market?
Yeah, so we've implemented several features in our platform that we've labeled smart. We've got smart curves, smart time series, smart reports, etc. Now, these smart, innovative features encourage clients to get creative. It gives them the capability to expand the data management platform without limits. For example, a client could make a smart report which analyzes data sets and gives recommendations about adjustments that could be made in terms of collection times and quality checks to run on that data. These are the kind of things that we're going beyond the kind of the basic data collection and curve building.
So how does that sort of differentiate from the competitive landscape? Particularly, obviously, there's a set of legacy providers out there as well that are well known. So how are you, a new platform, differentiated from them in particular?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the primary differentiator that we see for our offering is we've built a domain-specific programming language. This language enables business users to easily write snippets of code and work with data and perform everyday tasks. This is fairly unique in terms of the competitive landscape. These scripts can be pushed to the cloud and scheduled and triggered to run, so they can run as processes in the cloud, as well as local everyday tasks that they perform on their local machine. The platform itself is built from the ground up as a multi-tenanted SaaS cloud-native platform, with all the benefits you get in terms of scalability, security, resilience, and support. So we put a lot of effort into making the platform easy to adopt, from the use of single sign-on using the client's own Active Directory to the easy onboarding process using our web portal. And our Excel add-in is free to download from the Microsoft Store, and it's always up to date. The end user comments we've had so far is that it's flexible, it's intuitive, and ultimately we want it to be the ultimate data management platform that goes well beyond the basics.
Cool. And you actually have customers using the software now? We
do, yes. So we've onboarded our first client in the last few weeks. And we've got another one doing a proof of concept at the moment. We're looking fairly favorable with that one as well.